Good evening, madam. This is Mwesigwa Peter. I'm presenting my project, and I called it Project Report Presentation on Transition and Collaboration for Deaf Learners. As it can be seen, my first presentation, I presented the history of the research that I carried out, and I said I carried out my research on a student from St. Anthony School for the Deaf called Lutaya Spire. And Lutaya Spire is from Wakiso district, Nansana. He also has his two parents, and both they are hearing. He has brothers and sisters, one brother and two sisters. Lutaya Spire, the father is a primary teacher by profession, and her mother is a tailor. However, the two do not stay together. And apart from Lutaya being deaf, he doesn't have any other disability, and he joined St. Anthony School for the Deaf in 2016, and that's where he started learning from ever since he was born. My first question was on how is the student's right to access education being met, based on the UNC RPD articles 1, 21, 24, and 30. According to this article, UNCRPD Article 24, Section 3, it states that the state parties shall enable persons with disability to learn life and social development skills to facilitate their full and equal participation in education and as member of the community. To this, that there is facilitation of learning sign language and promotion of linguistic identity of deaf community. Therefore, as Lutaya's case, he expresses himself that by the time he joined the school, St. Anthony School for the Deaf, he didn't know any sign language communication, but as he joined the school, he was able to learn sign language, and right now, he can communicate in sign language, he learned through sign language and all that. This indicates that the school has facilitated his rights to ensure full participation in education through teaching him sign language, which is a mode of his communication in education, as well as promoting his identity of deaf culture. Similarly, the government has enabled this child by permitting and licensing the school to operate, without which the government licensing this school, it would be hard for him because they would not be operating. St. Anthony has also enabled to meet the needs of learners. That's to say, in relation to Article 30, Section 1, Part B, it says that access to television program, films, theater, and other cultural activities should be met for disabled children. For example, Lutaya confirmed to us that the school has a television that they use on weekend to watch movies and different actors. This helps them to learn from these movies through visualizing what is going on, and also watches other movies that are educative to them. Thus, their rights to education is being met because they are able to learn from these movies, although they are not translated in sign language. Secondly, we are going to talk about what are the positive and negative factors that are contributing to his learning in school, and that's St. Anthony's School for the Deaf. First of all, it is supportive parents, especially the father. According to Lutaya, Spire says that his father is the one responsible to pay his school fees. In relation to this, he enables him to keep at school and continue with his studies without being interrupted with tuition issues. Therefore, the support that the father gives to Lutaya is in form of school fees that helps him positively to continue studying. For example, this came even the time for lockdown that Lutaya continued staying at school to interact with his friends and also continue learning during lockdown period. According to him, he says that during lockdown, he opted to stay at school because he wanted to continue with studies since the school was teaching students in high classes and he was among them. So he decided to stay at school and the father was able to facilitate him by paying his tuition. Thus, his contribution has enabled Lutaya to attain education. Individual supports like Madame Bernadette's case, and Madame Sarah told us that there are some students that Madame Bernadette that took to Mbale School for the Deaf that is supporting them. And through this, Lutaya told us that because he has seen his friends who have been studying there, they go to Mbale School for the Deaf, they study a lot of skill. When they come back, they demonstrate to them. He's influenced and inspired also to work hard to read so that he can also join high school. And that's this support from individuals is inspiring him, though it's not directly supporting him, but it inspires him to read hard. Visualization, that's to say, the existence of rich visual environment at St. Anthony's School for the Deaf has enabled Sipaya to visualize the concepts they learn from class. For example, the gazetted wall fence painted with the pictures showing different concepts that they learn at school. For example, diagrams showing digestive system, among others. This has helped Spire visualize it in class and outside class. And through this repetition of seeing these visual aids, he learns it better and he can be able to remember well. Thus, the visual environment helps him to learn. Similarly, when it comes to the project work at school, they have the project that they, especially in science subject, that they learn from the field how they to grow certain things, types of crops they grow, and they participate in this. This helps them to learn effectively. We also have the negative factors that have contributed to their learning. These have failed them to learn effectively. For example, lack of enough teachers. According to Madame Sarah, she says that the school has only 7 teachers, of which they have 10 classes from nursery to primary 7. Therefore, this gives them a burden to teach all classes at the same time. Thus, some classes misses teachers. And this, we have seen that it leaves a gap behind whereby some students may miss out, and of which Lutaya is among them in case the teacher is in different class. A lack of skilled teachers, according to Spire, he says that many teachers, they don't know sign language, but those who know sign language, there are few. These teachers who don't know sign language, they don't understand them in class. For example, mathematics teacher is just a new teacher and he does not know sign language. However, a few teachers like Mr. Job, he knows sign language, and whenever he comes to class, they're able to understand his subject very well, and he confirmed that he performs very well in social study compared to math and science, where the teachers are not effective in sign language skills. Third question, I would also look at, it says that based on the different factors, stroke topics in power and control will discuss for every factor how it influences positive and negative development of this student. First and foremost, it's emotional abuse. That's what I'm going to look at. This can also refer to punishing, refusing to speak, and ignoring the child. This brings about emotional abuse as a child may feel bad due to the pain that inflicted to him. For example, you may cane the child, thus abusing the child's emotion. However, we want to say that this can help positively the child. So we say positively emotional abuse helps to shape the child's behavior. For example, if the child misbehaves at home, at school, a parent or a teacher can punish the child to control his or her behavior. Take an example of Madame Sarah's case. She narrated to us that they had a girl whose parents, whenever could come to school, the girl could not welcome the parent. She could march to the dormitory and the parent is responsible to carry all things that he has brought to him to the dormitory. But one day, the head teacher and the father collaborated and they said, don't take those things to him, but rather leave them there. And the parent went to the office. In response, the girl was punished, thus inflicting pain on her. And through this, the girl knelt down, apologizing for forgiveness and promised not to repeat it again. Thus, since then, Madame confirmed that she has never repeated it again, and whenever the parent comes, she's willing to welcome the father happily. However, on the other side, if emotional abuse administered badly and too much, it can also lead to negative development. For example, if a child is always ignored whenever they require something, brutally beaten, it can affect the child's mental health and physically. For example, corporal punishment can also affect, and ignoring the child also lowers self-esteem and loss of a sense of belonging and love, because the girl will assume, or the child will assume, they don't love me and whatever I do is wrong and it's not recommended by anyone. The first question was, how can you take the first step to create a positive attitude towards this deaf student in her or his home in relation to deaf culture and sign language? First of all, I said attitude change occurs any time. An attitude is modified. Does change occur when a person goes from being positive to negative, from slightly positive to every? This means that we can always change someone's attitude from positive to negative and from negative to positive. Therefore, these are the steps that I would take to change the parents' attitude towards this child. One of them is creating deaf awareness to the parent and presenting role model. Under this strategy, I will inform the child, this parent, about deafness. For example, I would tell them that their child is normal, like any other child, but he cannot hear spoken language. Thus, he needs to use sign language to communicate to one another. Secondly, I would also create the awareness about deafness to the parent, and through this, I would tell them that deafness is just a condition that limits the child from perceiving sounds from the environment, but it doesn't affect his mental ability to reason, to work, and learn at school like any other child. However, it depends on how you teach him or her For example, for the case of deaf children, the teacher is required to use sign language to teach them signs and use it to teach them different concepts and instruction in any given activity. Therefore, as a parent, if they know or learn sign language, they will be able to effectively communicate with their child. Therefore, through this, I will also present the role models to them, for example, the lecturers who are deaf, other deaf children, and this can be through visitation. I visit them as we create deaf awareness. They see other deaf children, they are communicating with one another, and they will believe that this child can make it like any other child. And when they are willing, they will take up the sign language lessons to bridge a gap between their child and themselves. Thus, the communication gap is bridged and they will be able to understand the child and they will have a good, positive attitude towards this child. 5, it says that we suggest 2 measures you can take as an ally to help the child advocate for his or her rights. As an ally, I will take the following measures to help my deaf student to be able to advocate for him or her rights. First and foremost, the child will be knowing their rights, and I'll be able to teach them steps to follow to acquire their rights. Here it says that in order for an individual to successfully advocate and acquire his rights, he or she should follow the rightful steps to achieve his or her goals to attain his rights. For example, who to approach, where, when, how to approach. For example, if the child is being denied his right to education, the first step the child should do is to identify the cause of the resistance as to why they are not paying for him school fees, as to why he's not accessing, and the child is willing. After identifying, this can be done through asking the parents, like the mother or a father at home. However, it should be taken to a good person that has positive attitude towards the child, because he may ask a parent who doesn't want her or him, and the parent may respond badly. This can also be through written form and all that. Secondly, he should identify the people or groups of people who are likely to oppose him, such that he can avoid, and these are people with negative attitude towards him as a deaf child, deaf family, etc. And also identify people who are likely to support him to build on his idea. After he has identified that he deserves a right to something that he's missing and the cause already identified, this will be easier for him to get people to help him out of this challenge. An example where the child can go to any community member with a positive attitude towards him, the local leader, the mother who is willing and have positive attitude towards him, district officials, and deaf ally. However, among these, there might be also opponents. So I will teach him to know that this is an opponent in order to avoid them. For example, those who don't like to associate with them, those whom he holds his attention, but they don't want to respond to them. Then 6, we say that write down 4 strategies that you could teach him or her to face the challenge about the risks of being mistreated or abused. First, I will teach them sexual development. In this, I give my deaf student information about sexual development. For example, I teach them or him about their body changes, like the change in the tone depending on their voice, the widening of their chest, development of the pubic hair, and becoming so attracted to opposite sex, erection, among others. For girls, they start experiencing menstruation period, breast enlargement, etc. After this, I will tell my student that it is normal and they have to know that they are attracted and they also attract other genders. Thus, they should avoid being in enclosed places with the opposite gender, especially men in the case of the girl, and girls where the boy of the same age. They should be in open places, but not in hideouts or indoors. I would also teach them how to go about the challenge like menstruation, bedwetting, to keep themselves clean to avoid other diseases. This is because if the child doesn't know that menstruation or bedwetting, they will approach any other person who may be a stranger and they tell them that this is happening to me. And this person can use this chance to abuse the child sexually. So when they know, they think they will not go anywhere, but they will know that I have this and it's normal. Every person experiences it. I have to keep myself clean and I have to do this to be safe. I would also teach them. This will help them to avoid challenges of being sexually abused, as I said, because they will always spend their time in an open place, or else they avoid being close to opposite gender. Secondly, I teach my deaf student Lutaya information about sexual misbehaviors. Sexual misconduct is a type of violence that uses power, control, and intimidation to harm another. It includes sexual harassment, sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking. It occurs when there is an absence of consent. Consent is a free and clearly given yes, not the absence of no, and cannot be received when a person is incumbent by alcohol or drugs. Sexual misconduct is a misconduct of sexual nature which exists on spectrum that may include broad range of sexual behaviors. Therefore, I would teach my student such sexual behaviors and how to overcome them. For example, in the case of any assault, the child is able to protect themselves. They are able to fight back. For example, in the case of the boy, and a woman starts touching the boy child badly, he should stand up and say no to the woman, or if he's being strangled or harassed, the boy, I can give him a trick to hit the woman's breast and run away. This would help him. Similar to the girl can also hit the gentleman's power and runs away. That's number 6 done. Thank you so much. That's all. Stop recording. Where?